everyone, it's Jeremy. We're back with more of the Slowest Blitz, where we are playing Asphodel, and it's turn 9. And immediately on turn 9, I just got to talking about how it's going to be really interesting over the course of the next, 5 to 10 turns to see people taking early thrones, and we immediately have another 2 thrones taken. So we have the Iron Throne, taken by, I think this is Agartha, right? And then we have the Crystal Throne, taken, is this also by... Yeah, this is, again, by Abysia. So this is a second throne taken by Abysia already. That's pretty wild. We'll have to take a look into that. So Iron Throne, Crystal Throne, very interesting. We've got a ping down here in Shadowglade, and then a couple of expansions, and then some unexpected events, actually, which is always, I'm always a little anxious to see unexpected events when I'm not playing a Luck Nation, so a little scared. Let's see how things go in Shade Forest. We were a little concerned about how many barbarians there could be here, and there are a lot of barbarians. We sent in this double stack of harpies, right, to hopefully break them up. Let's see how this actually works. We're expecting every single one of those harpies to die, for them to not really do a whole lot, but the game plan is about the time that the barbarians are meeting the front, these harpies should land in their back, and the black centaurs should hit them in the side. So, pretty close. Basically worked appropriately. Now how much do we lose? Oh god. Oh, thank goodness for... We lose almost everything, but it looks like the black centaurs are doing it. Or, ooh. Oh no. Did we rout? Oh no. No, we did not rout. So this is actually, again, I don't want to say this is just the patch changing things, but a combination of the patch changing the replays versus what actually happens, we actually do take this. But it goes to show how close this situation was, right? Very, very, very scary expansion. Barbarians hit so hard, they're able to chop through basically everything, but fortunately they're not able to hit the black centaurs. And while it didn't look like things went especially well for those harpies, they got slaughtered, they did provide a very important component in distracting the back half of those barbarians while the black centaurs came in and hit the side of them, right? So if that had not been the case, it's very possible that those black centaurs would have been overwhelmed, harassed down, and then chopped up, because only 1 or 2 hits and they would drop from the barbarians. But Deed actually did succeed. We take Shade Forest. Very happy. We'll save the Shadowglade ping for last. We have an attack in Bycliff. We can already see we didn't bump. That's what we were concerned about. Other than that, this should be no contest. Black Centaurs get buffed up. They go in and slaughter. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Fucking archers fighting to the last man there. Very, very interestingly. And we can also see that that's kind of a neat little... I don't... It's so wild to me how Dominions is coded. It's so wild to me how Dominions is coded. This is pre-patch, okay? This is pre-patch. These are Sagittarian carcasses with the updated model, updated weaponry, right? Carrion bow that has the Carrion seed effect. This did not exist pre-patch. This is after the patch for Asphodel. And we can see that in this saved battle from before the patch, we can see these guys get hit. One of them failed their magic resistance check, got infected with a dark seed infection, and when they died, became a mannequin in a saved game prior to this patch. So the patch has actually overwritten how, not even just how the battle looks, but also the inherent mechanics in the battle itself, which is wild to me. Regardless, we take that with 0 losses. That was a very easy one. We jump into Wick. And this should also be no real issue. Got a lot of heavy infantries here, but heavies will not be too much of a problem for Black Centaurs. They're going to chop those satyrs up, though, I'll tell you what. And then we're in the side of them. They rout from HP. Easy peasy. Clean them all up. And good stuff. We lost 1 Carrion boar. Lost some more of our satyrs. These satyrs actually have done a great job being the starting army. So good on them. But they are nearly done. And now let's check the ping from Shadowblade. So, just popping inside to see what we see here. We got a bunch of militia, trash, don't care. Bunch of heavy infantry, trash, don't care. Bunch of our archers, not a big deal. There is a singular priest here, it looks like, which isn't great, but not too big of a deal. Actually, a sleeper here. And this guy has a smasher? That'd be nice to snag. Honestly, if we roll up against any, like, monoliths or Agartha, you know, that'd be kind of cool. But aside from that, we have air glamour mages with a fuck ton of air and glamour gems. And some fire, interestingly. So that's not super cool. I'm not super excited about that. However, this shouldn't be an incredibly challenging province for us to take. A sufficient mass of mannequins to distract things and black centaurs should delete this in short order, which is good. So hopefully that goes well for us. Let's check our unexpected events. Shade Forest. Yeah, unrest and misfortune. Yeah, that's the deal without luck, ain't it? And in Namor, we have a bad harvest, so we lose 100% tax in Namor. How much does that cost us? That costs us a lot. That's 112 lost. Okay, so let's take a look at what is going on around us. We can see so much of the world now. We've got so many. I haven't been, like, counting out the amount of harpies that we have, but you can see from all of our little gray arrows, those are all harpies just flying off into the wild beyond to try to ascertain exactly what's going on in the world around us. We can see some interesting things already. We can see Bandar log has expanded fairly well. We haven't actually been able to see a Bandar log expansion yet. That is partially why we can see some Tiger Riders here. And we're popping into Jereb, hopefully with the idea that we will see them go. I probably should have done Jereb and Pannonia, but instead I popped over to Lish, and I don't really know why I did that, but just trying to see what bless they have on their Tiger Riders, which with this type of expansion, I would assume they have a pretty aggressive bless on their Tiger Riders. We can see to the north of us quite a bit more of Man. Man did end up going for Kingdom of Dara rather than down into Bycliff, which is cool. And we actually started talking to Man this turn. They started talking about, you know, do we want to go into Mountains of Mist? And we were like, no, not really. You're welcome to go in there. So they're going to try to take that next turn, which I think personally is very far out of their zone of control and very up in Bandar log's business. But at the same time, Bandar log would not have a great avenue of attack. So I don't think that they're especially concerned about it. Man is interested in buying these off, so we're trying negotiations to see what's going on. We can see a scout down here in Haloma, which is probably a very likely place for an initial fortification from them. We can see there's a throne over here on the Pyrenees Manish border. See a bit more of Pyrene. And we can see that Ulm is actually quite hemmed in, not just by us, but by Man, Jotunheim, and Pyrene, right? So, or Pyrene, whichever. Which is very, very interesting. And then we can also see, and very specifically, I'm sending a lot more Harpies down here for this. Abysia is still not expanding very well. We know that they have Vaclez down here. We know that they don't have Black Harbor. But even if they have expanded over here, I assume they haven't expanded all the way over to Lureborough. But even if they have expanded over here, they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 provinces on turn 9, which is pretty bad. And the space around them is tightening, right? Like, they don't have a lot of avenues with which to expand, except kind of like up here to the northeast. That did give me pause. That did give me this kind of concept of, okay, well, why don't we just jump in here and try to take some of this away from them? But I am really committed to this idea, especially now that we've seen that Shadowglade is a relatively easy throne for us to take. I am pretty committed to this concept of just diving into 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Like hit turn 10, 11, 12, take Shadowglade, go from there, right? Like that kind of concept. So yeah, I think that's going to be the generalized plan for now. We've got quite a few Carrion commanders that we've been able to just kind of like roll around with. And we're doing a couple of different things aside from the attacks. We're only going to have 2 expansions this turn, one into Imicton and one into Kepria. Kepria is potentially somewhat dangerous depending on whether or not Bandar Log has an army in the vicinity that can actually make it. But doing the calculations, it seems unlikely, right, that they're going to be able to move through all of these particular provinces and into Kepria, right? So I'm pretty hopeful that we're going to be able to go in there without bumping them. This should be fine. Lizard Warriors should be fine. They are somewhat dangerous. They have that very kind of like high damage trident attack, I believe, with a secondary bite. But we should be fine against them with maybe a little bit of losses. And in Kepria, we should be probably okay. It looks like it's just militia, heavy infantry, and light infantry, which are very easy for us to deal with, but we'll see how it goes. So, aside from that, we are doing a little bit of prep work in order to take Shadowglade in 2 turns, and that is we are slowly but surely recruiting centaurs here in Levendalen. Right? And I think we're actually, yeah, we're also doing it over here. We're getting another Minotaur Lord and some more Centaurs over in Shade Forest, with the kind of idea being, you know, turn, what is it? Turn 10, 11. So 2 more turns of recruitment, or this turn of recruitment, next turn of recruitment, right? So being able to hit approximately 20 to 25 Centaurs, which have these pretty long range, okay attack, decent damage longbows, which I think is actually a pretty good thing in Dominion 6 versus Dominions 5. It's not to say that ranged weapons were useless in Dominions 5. They're very, very good in specific situations, but a lot of times you didn't want to get them early for various different reasons. We're going to actually try to grab a couple of them for a couple of reasons. One, they should be somewhat helpful in thinning out all of those militia, and not so much the heavy infantry, but militia and archers, right? Like, they'll help do a fair amount of damage too. They have very long range, right? But also, we can't put them in the same space as a Sagittarian carcass, right? Like, we can't put them in the same row of a unit, but we can put them in the same like location on the battlefield as Sagittarian carcasses, and create this kind of like big block of a couple Sagittarian carcasses and a decent size amount of centaurs, And then what we can do is we can do certain things like if we go into enchantments, we can do things like Serpent Fang arrows, right? Like hits a decently sized arrow. There's a smaller version of this, right? Gift of the Serpent. But if we hit something like Enchantment 4, we can do things like Serpent Fang arrows. And if we run into an enemy that doesn't have poison defense, right? This can actually add in quite a bit of additional damage. You don't have to do much damage at all. You just gotta get past their armor for 1 point of damage, and then all of a sudden it's an additional 5 armor negating damage. So this is kind of like a nice little a la Flaming Arrows kind of concept way for nature factions or nature nations to use their archers in the early game, especially now when I think it's somewhat more difficult to easily factor in poison resistance into your bless and stuff like that, as well as there's somewhat less of a reason to do it because it's more difficult to use foul vapors in this day and age, right? So I think that's a very interesting kind of like concept to play into. So we're going to see how that works out. And yeah, we'll go from there. So what else do we have going on? Still finishing up our Panic Apostate, still recruiting as many Centaurs, Black Centaurs and Centaur Warriors as we can to kind of round things out. We are building our first temple here in Monarch Woods, so that's going to take us a little bit of time. We are sneaking this particular Centaur Hierophant over to Sylvania. Again, probably with the idea of dropping a temple and lab, and hopefully getting either next turn or shortly thereafter a Panic Apostate or a Carrion Lord that has Nature 4 that we could start dropping Grow Fortress into these various different locations. If we could, in the next 8 turns, right, get Monarch Woods, Imictlin, Sylvania, Shade Forest, and Shadowglade, that would be absolutely phenomenal, right? That's going to be a lot of money, and that's going to be a lot of fucking nature gems. However, every temple that we do put down in kind of preparation for this is going to get us another nature gem up to 6, right? Which is why we kind of like established that amount 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 6, right? So that's kind of like the 6 places that we're really looking at. I think it's definitely a good idea to try to maximize the amount of nature gems you're getting from your temples and domain strength on Asphodel, on any nation that has that type of mechanic, but obviously on Asphodel, because they are incredibly reliant on nature gems. Obviously, we want to get Alt 5 for Mother Oak, but that's challenging, right? Like, even if we had Alt 5 right now, and even if we had a Nature 4 Panic Apostate, we couldn't cast Mother Oak because Mother Oak takes Nature 5. So we're gonna have to do some juggling where we go Alteration, Construction, but unfortunately Construction generally isn't a thing that we actually want that much of. We can do Soldiers of Steel, but it's very difficult for us, and it's not it's not bad, but it's not super useful for us. So it's kind of a difficult situation. We've got to go all the way up to Alt 5 and up to Construction 5 in order to make it. Used to be Construction 4, which is painful, right? But it is something that we can do. The issue is going to be, again, right, if we don't roll a Panic Apostate with Nature 4 immediately, and we have to keep rolling Panic Apostates and Carrion Lords, then our ability to research is going to be significantly hampered, because it's going to take additional turns, right, to get what we need. Those are slow to recruit or cost a shit ton of gems, depending on which one we're doing, or we're doing both, right? And without the additional forts, we're not going to be able to recruit mages to research in those forts, which means we're incredibly luck dependent in this very, very particular moment. We've come out of this gate swinging. We have expanded extremely well. Very happy with the expansion. But all of that could mean absolutely nothing if it takes us 10 turns to get a nature for Panic Apostate or Carrion Lord. So hopefully that is not the case. Hopefully everything goes very, very well, and we can cruise through the rest of this early game, get into an early war with a target looking like Phaeacia or Ulm as kind of like the better targets, truth be told. And out of those, I would probably rather go against Phaeacia than Ulm, because Black Knights are fucking scary. But I think either one of those would be good targets, and Ulm as a particular target is very interesting because we do have a throne right next to us. Ulm is the king of thrones. Ulm has a throne right next to them. They have a throne 2 away from their cap to the northwest, and they have a throne 2 away from their cap to the southeast. That's ludicrous. And very scary, depending on what those thrones are. That could be a huge deal. Actually, again, looking at thrones, Abysia picked up the crystal throne this turn, so gets some glamour and gets crystal mages. I believe they already have earth mages, but I don't think they have glamour mages normally. They have astral, they get some earth, right? Yeah, they get a little bit of earth, but having the earth 2s are going to be pretty nice. And they have no glamour, so having the glamour added in is also pretty fucking cool. So that is a pretty nice pickup. Not like the biggest pickup in the world, but a pretty nice pickup. And then Agartha picked up the Iron Throne, which gives them Adepts of the Iron Order, which is the classic old crystal combo, right? Like Astral, Earth. Agartha obviously has a shit ton of Earth already, but again, I don't think they really have Astral. So no Astral there, no Astral there, none. Yeah, so being able to just snag those Astral Mages is going to be a very nice thing for Agartha. And presumably, one of these two is right the fuck down in here. We can't see either of them yet, but pretty shortly we're going to have the entire overworld explored. If we had any caves in areas that we were specifically thinking we were going to control, we absolutely would already be scouting those. But since we don't have any cave entrances in our lands, I'm content to scout the overworld and then send harpies into the underworld as we kind of like set up the remainder of our harpies around our borders and potential war targets. So that will be the overall goal. And yeah, that's it. Pretty excited. I think we have a pretty good game plan, but we are really, really, really hard up for luck right now. So we've gotta cross our fingers, and hopefully it will go well. That's it. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.